The day I was cast out, a story retold, 2 days before Christmas in 2024, as torrents of rain battered Boston streets, drenching everything in seconds, my world shifted. I stood on the brownstone steps, my backpack growing heavier as rain soaked through the canvas. "You're a disgrace, Claire," my mother's voice sliced through the storm, "an absolute failure." Behind her, my father hovered silently, jaw clenched. It was the same look he'd worn the night I confessed I wanted to study game design instead of joining the family's prestigious law firm, Whitaker Sons. "All these years preparing you for the firm," my mother hissed, "and you throw it away for childish fantasies." I was 18, just out of my freshman year at Boston University, and my only crime was refusing to transfer to Harvard Law as they demanded. I dreamed of designing games that transported people, not writing legal briefs. "If you walk away now," my mother spat, her voice sharp as broken glass, "never come back. You'll get nothing from us." I pulled my hood tighter and looked her dead in the eye. Good, they'd expected tears, apologies. Instead, I turned and marched into the rain, leaving the Beacon Hill townhouse that had been my gilded prison. Her words chased me down the steps. "You'll fail, Claire. You'll crawl back when your silly dreams collapse." But I never looked back. The first months were brutal. I crashed on my roommate Ava's futon, working at a bookstore by day and waiting tables at night. Every free moment was spent coding, drawing characters, learning Unity. Ava's cramped apartment became my refuge. While my family dined at fancy galas, I sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by sketch pads and coffee cups. "You're nuts," Eva would laugh, watching me work till dawn, but the best kind of nuts, and she was right. 6 months in, I finally hit my first break. A small indie game I designed caught the eye of a Boston-based gaming startup. They didn't offer millions, but they offered something butter a shot. A junior game developer role, with flexible hours so I could keep working on my own projects. I grabbed it without hesitation. My family's law firm, Whitaker Sons, was all about tradition, courtrooms, and prestigious clients, the empire my grandfather built in the 1950s. They couldn't fathom why anyone would spend days coding games or drawing digital art. But I saw the future in pixels and players. While they clung to old money and reputation, I was learning Unity, VR development, and new ways to build entire worlds. 1 year turned into 2, then 3. I advanced from junior developer to lead designer at another studio. My first significant game, a narrative-driven indie title, began gaining buzz online. I wasn't wealthy yet, but I made enough to rent a tiny loft in Cambridge and pour myself into my work. Through mutual friends, I occasionally heard scraps about my family. My cousin Amelia stepped into the role once planned for me at Whitaker & Sons. My parents hosted gala dinners, keeping up their image as Boston's legal royalty. They had erased me from their carefully curated narrative that suited me fine. I was crafting my own. The real turning point came 4 years after that stormy night. My game had evolved into something bigger. A platform for indie creators, offering tools to build immersive experiences. I named it Dreamforge Studios. When venture capital interest arrived, I was ready. The first funding round valued Dreamforge at $18 million. 6 months later, we doubled that. I moved into a modern condo near Kendall Square, but kept my life simple. Every dollar went into talent, tech, and growth. Eva, who'd given me a place to crash, became my creative director. "Look at us now," she'd say, surveying our bright, bustling studio, from ramen noodles to redefining gaming. I just smiled, remembering cold rain and defiance. Then came the day that changed everything. I was in my office, studying potential partnerships that could take Dreamforge even further. A familiar name blinked on my screen, Whitaker Sons. My family's firm was in trouble. While I'd raced ahead into the world of digital entertainment, they'd clung to mahogany desks and dusty legal tomes. Their revenue had shrunk steadily over the past year. They desperately needed to modernize, but my mother's pride ran deeper than any courtroom ruling. I dug into their financials, curiosity gripping me. The reality was worse than gossip suggested. They were bleeding cash. Around $5 million would buy them time to pivot, invest in legal tech, and survive Boston's increasingly competitive market. I sat there staring at spreadsheets when my phone lit up. The number was one I hadn't seen in 6 years, but I'd never forget it. My mother's number. I let it ring 4 times, each chime echoing the night she'd said, "You're a disgrace, Claire, an absolute failure." On the 5th ring, I answered, "Hello, Mother," I said evenly. "I've been expecting this call." Silence stretched so long, I wondered if she'd hung up. Then she cleared her throat. "Claire," she said, her voice stripped of its usual steel, "we need to talk." I leaned back, watching rain trace paths down my office windows. "Yes," I said, "we do." The Whitaker and Sons building hadn't changed. Same grand columns outside, same polished brass plaques, same partners in tailored suits bustling through the lobby. But I had changed. As I walked through the revolving door, memories flooded me. Late nights, sneaking into my father's study to read case files. Childhood Saturdays at court hearings. Endless lectures on family duty and legacy. "Miss Whitaker," the receptionist blinked as recognition dawned. "Your mother is waiting in the main conference room." I nodded, adjusting my sleek navy suit knot out of fear. Those days were gone, but because appearances mattered. In the elevator, I mentally recited the firm's figures. Whitaker and Sons was collapsing. Profits had plunged by 55%. Their reputation and survival hung by a thread. The conference room doors swung open to a scene I'd never have pictured 6 years ago. My mother, the formidable Margaret Whitaker, looked older, drawn. Her designer suit hung looser than I remembered, and faint smudges of mascara shadowed her eyes. Beside her sat my father, silent, fingers steepled. His silver hair, once immaculate, was now thin at the temples. By the window stood Amelia, my cousin, the chosen heir. She'd filled out, her posture tense, jaw tight. The once proud face of Whitaker and Sons didn't look quite so untouchable anymore. "Claire," my mother murmured, rising halfway before settling back into her chair. She started to extend her hand but withdrew it awkwardly. "Thank you for coming." I slid into a seat at the far end of the polished table, placing my slim laptop case before me. "Let's skip the niceties," I said calmly. "I've reviewed your financials." Amelia turned from the rain-streaked glass, cheeks reddening. "You've been spying on us." "Public filings." "Cousin," I replied, "your firm's collapse isn't exactly a secret." My father winced at my choice of words. "Your firm, not ours, not anymore. We've had challenges," my mother began, slipping into her lawyerly tone. "The market is volatile, and our traditional clientele, your traditional clientele," I cut in, "is panicking. Law is digital now. It's AI contract analysis, blockchain records, virtual legal services. You're living in the past." Amelia snorted. "And I suppose you're the expert now, with your video games." Without a word, I opened my laptop and cast Dreamforge Studios' latest investor deck onto the conference screen. The figures glowed: $420 million in annual revenue, 280% growth, partnerships with major gaming and tech firms. The room froze. You're behind Dreamforge," my mother whispered. "Founder and CEO." I confirmed. "My games built something bigger than Whitaker and Sons ever dreamed." My mother stared, pale. Finally she whispered, "We need $5 million. A bridge loan to modernize. We can offer favorable terms." "I'm not interested in a loan," I said evenly, flipping open a document. "I'm interested in acquisition. If you've ever wanted to see what happens when the family who cast you out comes knocking at your door for salvation, don't miss the next chapter. Subscribe to the channel and join me as this story takes a turn they'll never see coming." The word acquisition hovered between us like lightning about to strike. Amelia pushed away from the window, fury twisting her features. "Acquisition? You want to buy us out, your own family?" "Family." I gave a small, humorless laugh. "Wasn't it you, Amelia, who told everyone at the Harvard Alumni Gala that you were an only child, that your cousin Claire vanished years ago?" She froze, shocked. "I'd heard about that." "Claire," my mother began, her voice slipping into that gentle, coaxing tone she had used when trying to convince me law school mattered more than art and coding. "Surely we can find another way. We're still your family." "No," I said evenly. "You lost that right 6 years ago. This is business." I pulled a sleek folder from my bag and laid it on the polished conference table. "Dreamforge Studios will acquire Whitaker and Sons for $22 million. It's generous, considering your current market value. We'll retain most staff, implement legal tech solutions, and combine your expertise with our digital platforms." "And what about us?" Amelia snapped. "What happens to the family?" I met her glare without blinking. You'll be offered roles in the new division entry level. Promotions will be based on merit, not family name. Father can act as consultant through the transition, then retire with a respectable pension. Mother's connections might help client relations, but that's up to her. My father's hands trembled as he reached for the contract. And if we refuse, he murmured, then I walk. You can explain to your partners and clients why you rejected salvation. Your reputation and your firm will collapse. Silence swallowed, the room broken only by the soft slide of paper as my father flipped pages. You planned this, Amelia accused. You were waiting for us to fail. I rose, adjusting my blazer. No, Amelia, I was too busy building success to waste time waiting for your failure. My mother cleared her throat. How long do we have? I picked up my folder. The offer expires at midnight. Not a second later. Midnight, my father's voice cracked. That's impossible. We need time to consult our partners, to explore other options. My mother's voice trembled. You don't have other options, I said, calm and precise. And you don't have time. 6 years ago, you gave me 5 minutes to choose my entire future. I'm giving you 12 hours. I'd say that's generous. I headed for the door but paused, glancing over my shoulder. Oh, and one more thing. I turned fully to face them. When you sign and you will sign, I want you to use the same Mont Blanc pen you used to sign the letter refusing to fund my transfer to art school. The one engraved with Whitaker Sons. I believe it's still in your desk drawer. Mother, the flicker of shock across her face told me I was right. She remembered that pen and what it had destroyed. How did you? She began. I'll be back at 11:45 p.m. I interrupted. Try not to be late. Time is money. Isn't that what you always taught me? Then I left them in a conference room heavy with shattered pride and a contract that would rewrite history. As the elevator doors whispered shut, my reflection stared back at me from brushed steel. For the first time in that building, I saw a victor. The next 12 hours would be fascinating. 11:43 p.m. Boston's skyline glittered below the Whitaker and Sons conference room like stars scattered on midnight silk. I stood at the window where Amelia had stood that morning, my silhouette overlapping the neon glow. The door clicked open. Punctual, my mother entered first, followed by my father and Amelia. All three looked drained, shadows beneath their eyes. My mother clutched a slim leather pen case, white knuckles giving her away. The partners approved the acquisition, she said hoarsely. Good. I turned, absorbing their defeated posture. I expected nothing less, I said softly. You had no other choice. Amelia collapsed into a chair, loosening her silk scarf. You've won, Claire. Is that what you wanted? No, I replied steadily. What I want is the truth. My father sagged into a seat. You are too much like him, he whispered. Like your grandfather. Edmund Whitaker was a visionary, my father began, his voice rough as gravel. He saw changes coming long before anyone else. In the 1950s, when everyone clung to old traditions, he embraced technology, streamlined operations, took bold risks. The partners thought he'd lost his mind. Even his own father called him reckless. He lifted the pen case, opening it with fingers that trembled slightly, but he proved them all wrong. Built this firm from nothing into a powerhouse. He looked up, eyes glassy. And you, he swallowed, you've got that same fire, that same relentless drive. It terrified me. Because I'm not like you, I finished gently. Realization dawning. You're a caretaker, not a builder. You wanted the firm frozen in time, the way you inherited it. I wanted stability, he whispered, security. When you started talking about AI legal tools, virtual hearings, transforming everything, I saw Edmund in you. He glanced away, and I remembered how scared I'd been every time my father risked the firm's future on something new. My mother touched his shoulder. We thought we were protecting you and Amelia. She's like your father, careful, predictable, or, I leaned forward, hands on the table, and look where the safe bet got us. On the brink of collapse, while the so-called dreamer built a tech empire. My father exhaled shakily. We were wrong about everything. About you. He pulled out the Whitaker Sons pen, the same one he'd used to deny my art school application. Its gold engraving glinted under the lights. Before I sign, he said softly, I need to know what happened after that night. How did you survive? I sat opposite him, a surprising tenderness rising in my chest. The first months were brutal. 2 jobs, crashing on Ava's futon, coding until dawn, But I had something you never gave me, freedom to fail. My mother echoed, yes, when your own family abandons you, every small win feels huge, and every failure just another lesson. I pulled out my phone, showing them my first game glitchy, ugly, barely playable, but it worked, and each version got better. Amelia leaned closer, and the investors, I didn't chase them, I said, they came to me. I already had paying users. I didn't need their money. They needed my innovation. Just like Whitaker Sons needs it now. My father held the pen like it weighed a ton. And once we sign, what happens to us? Exactly what I told you. Amelia starts fresh. Mother uses her networks. And you, father, you get to watch the firm become what grandfather dreamed it could be. He hesitated. Why didn't you just let us collapse? Because builders don't destroy, they transform. Everything grandfather built still matters. It just needs to evolve. 11:59 p.m. The pen scratched across the contract. My mother wiped away tears. Amelia signed without pause. My father gripped my wrist, eyes brimming. Claire, I'm sorry. I know, I said gently. But it's yourself you need to forgive for being afraid of change. And us, Amelia whispered. Can we ever be a family again? That depends. Are you ready to build the future instead of clinging to the past? They all nodded. Then yes. Board meeting at 9 o'clock. Don't be late. We've got a firm to rebuild. As I rode the elevator down, I thought of the 18-year-old with a backpack and a stubborn spark of ambition. If someone had told her she'd own the building she was thrown out of, she'd have laughed through tears. But dreams don't need permission. They just need someone brave enough to chase them. Outside, Eva waited, grinning. How'd it go, boss? I held up the contract. Whitaker Sons is officially part of Dreamforge Studios, she whistled, and the family drama. A work in progress, I said. But for the first time in 6 years, it feels like real progress. Victory wasn't about proving my parents wrong. It was about proving myself right. Everything else was noise. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but I was ready. After all, I was Clare Whitaker, the so-called failure who became the builder of her own empire. And this was just the beginning. If you believe dreams deserve a fighting chance, stand with me, drop a comment and tell me what risks you've taken or wish you could. Remember, proving yourself right matters more than proving others wrong. Chase your future and don't forget to subscribe so we can keep building ours.